Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're digging into a really interesting conversation. It's from Keith and John on Mornings in the Lab with Keith and Friends.
Yeah, they covered quite a range.
They really did. Bounced from, cold therapy myths to what cravings might really mean, anxiety, even watermelon, believe it or not.
Watermelon. Okay,
Wow.
intrigued already.
Right. So our goal here is basically to pull out the key insights from their chat, episode hashtag 2042 specifically, and give you the fast track on these topics.
Sounds good. So where do we start? Cold therapy.
Let's do it. Cold therapy. It's like super popular now. Ice baths, cool showers, often pushed for weight loss.
Definitely. The idea is it ramps up your metabolism, burns fat. But Keith and John mentioned some new research that kind of questions that.
Yeah, it makes intuitive sense, Body gets cold, has to work harder, burn fuel.
Exactly. But this study they talked about, it was done in a metabolic chamber, super controlled environment.
Right, where they can track everything. Calories in, calories out.
Precisely. And they found people exposed to cooler temps. They actually ate more, like around 411 extra calories a day on average.
Wow, okay. But surely they burn more to compensate.
Well, that's the surprising part. The study didn't find a noticeable increase in calories burned, or, overall energy expenditure, or even how much fat they were burning.
Huh. So more food in, but not more energy out.
Pretty much. And it wasn't just during the cold exposure either. It seems that being in the cooler environment made them eat more throughout the rest of the day, too.
Interesting. So it triggers some kind of deeper hunger signal, maybe.
Could be like the body going to energy conservation mode when it feels that cold threat. It suggests these biohacks might not work the way we assume if we don't understand the full picture.
It kind of reminds me of people who do tons of cardio and then feel justified eating way more later, sort of defeats the purpose sometimes.
That's a good analogy. So the takeaway from Keith and John seemed to be, maybe focus on the fundamentals first.
Like regular eating, good whole foods, getting enough rest, moving your body.
Exactly. Those consistent habits probably offer more reliable results for weight management than, say, relying solely on cold plunges. It's about the system, not just one intervention.
Makes sense. Okay, so from cold, they shifted gears to cravings, something I think everyone deals with.
Oh, yeah. And their angle was interesting. Cravings aren't just like a lack of willpower.
Right. They can be signals. Your body trying to tell you something.
Yeah, John mentioned it might not even be about food. It could be your body saying, I need a nap, or I am dehydrated.
Learning to read those signals.
And the blood sugar connection is huge, which they really emphasize. When your blood sugar crashes,
Your brain kind of panics.
basically, yeah, it sends out an emergency signal demanding quick energy. And what's quick energy? Sugar.
So that intense urge for something sweet isn't just you being bad, it's physiological.
Deeply physiological. A survival mechanism kicking in. Understanding that helps shift from blame to management.
And their advice for managing it. Protein seemed key.
Definitely. Getting enough protein consistently throughout the day helps stabilize insulin and blood sugar levels, prevents those big spikes and crashes.
Which in turn reduces those intense cravings.
Exactly. Protein also helps you feel fuller, longer.
They also mentioned essential fats, like having some almonds between meals.
Yeah, another good strategy. Healthy fats can help stabilize blood sugar too, but without a big insulin response. Simple, but effective.
Keith shared something personal, too, about how making like a bad food choice early on could spiral.
Right, the domino effect. One sugary breakfast leads to chasing that sugar high all day because your blood sugar keeps roller coastering.
He said he switched to cutting carbs first thing and just having hard-boiled eggs.
And John pointed out, eggs are a great choice. Complete protein, all those essential amino acids.
So being mindful, especially early in the day, can set a better course. Proactive, not reactive.
Well put. It leads into managing your body's signals more effectively.
Okay, then the conversation got pretty personal. They talk about anxiety.
Yeah, hearing their own experiences was quite powerful. How they each recognized it or didn't initially.
Keith mentioned his travel discomfort, didn't label it anxiety at first, took self-reflection, talking to people.
And he found focusing on his dogs helped ground him. Simple, but effective for him.
Whereas John felt his past anxiety was just normal. His approach was more aggressive, like attack the fear.
Trying to outwork it.
Yeah.
He mentioned anxiety often stems from fear, which makes sense.
And Marty's experience started younger, high school, sports, social stuff, even the bus.
It shows how varied the triggers can be. And his using jokes as a defense mechanism, I think a lot of people can probably relate to that.
Definitely. Both Keith and Marty mentioned that feeling in unfamiliar situations, work or social, like you don't quite belong.
That imposter syndrome feeling can certainly fuel anxiety.
Marty described it as this urgent need to just escape the feeling, fast, which is why his morning routine is so important to him.
And this is where John brought in the biology. A thought triggers a chemical reaction.
Which our body then reads as that feeling, that anxiety.
Stress.
So hormones involved, right? Cortisol, adrenaline.
Exactly. And that led to the discussion about routines, non-negotiables.
Like the John ESP Petita example, using routine to get through tough times by automating positive actions.
Right. Getting up, moving, coffee, stretching. Removes the decision fatigue when you're already feeling overwhelmed. Makes things automatic.
They used everyday examples like, using the bathroom, sleeping, brushing teeth. We already have non-negotiables.
So the idea is to intentionally add a few more focused on well-being. It creates stability, predictability. Really helpful for managing anxiety.
And circling back to cortisol and adrenaline, great for short bursts like emergencies.
But not great when they're chronically high because of ongoing stress or anxiety. That has long-term health impacts.
Which ties back to the basics again, doesn't it? Sleep, nutrition. They help regulate that stress response.
Absolutely. A well-nourished, well-rested body is just better equipped to handle stressors.
Okay, moving towards the wrap-up, they offered some practical tips. Marty had one on fitness.
Ah, yes, protein. His point was prioritize it. Every meal.
And not just for bodybuilders. He mentioned muscle health, longevity, injury prevention, metabolism, fat burning.
It's foundational for so many things, especially as we age. And his advice was practical. Start small, gradually increase it.
Makes sense. Then John's tip was about language. Specifically, I can't.
The power of words.
Yeah, he argued that saying I can't kind of shuts down problem solving in your brain. It removes accountability.
So the reframe is...
Change I can't to how can I? Keeps the brain looking for solutions. Active versus passive.
That's really interesting. It ties into mindset, how our internal dialogue shapes our reality. Empowering language.
They also touched on enclothed cognition. Ever heard of that?
Vaguely. The idea that what you wear affects how you think and feel.
Exactly. They
Yeah.
cited that study with the doctor's coat. People wearing it performed better on cognitive tasks.
So dressing intentionally can act like a placebo, boost confidence.
Yeah. Though they also noted, if you're feeling good internally, physically, mentally you might rely less on clothes for that boost.
True. But they also mentioned the opposite clothes that don't fit well can definitely bring you down. That link between physical comfort and mental state again.
For sure. And finally, the watermelon.
Right, the surprise ending. What's the deal with watermelon?
Okay, so apparently it's good for men's sexual health because of something called L-citrulline.
L-citrulline. Okay. What does that do?
Well, the body converts it to L-arginine, which then boosts nitric oxide production.
Ah, nitric oxide. That relaxes blood vessels, improves blood flow.
Bingo. Crucial for erections, stamina.
Interesting. So a natural way to support that process.
And they also mention antioxidants in watermelon, like lycopene and vitamin C, potentially good for sperm quality, motility, maybe even testosterone levels.
And studies support this.
Some clinical studies suggest regular intake might help with mild ED, boost confidence.
Okay, but there has to be a catch, right? It's not just eat watermelon.
Exactly. John was really clear on this. It's not a magic fix. It works best layered on top of a healthy lifestyle.
So, good sleep, managing stress, exercise, decent diet. The fundamentals we keep coming back to.
Precisely. Watermelon is like a potential bonus, not the foundation itself.
If that makes sense. You can't out-eat a bad lifestyle, even with healthy foods.
Right. So, wrapping up this whole deep dive, it leaves you thinking. That mentioned Coca-Cola, how we drink it, but it also removes rust and cleans things.
Yeah, that's always a weird one to think about.
It really is. And it sparks a question. What other everyday things that we use or consume might have these kind of hidden, maybe contradictory effects on us, on the environment?
Thinking about the hidden complexities in our daily choices, the trade-offs we might not even realize we're making.
Exactly. Something to mull over. What else are we taking for granted that might have a surprising double life?
That's a great thought to end on. Definitely gives you something to consider.